All right, let's see if this works. Hello. So we are in a different space today because we're going to try something a little bit different. This is Strange Young Man here next to me, and we're going to do a teardown in my shed. This is the first time I've streamed from my shed, so hopefully everything goes well. We'll see how we go. That light up there is going to be a bit of a problem, and I can't really turn it off. So we'll see how we go. But I'm not going to talk to you from this camera too much. I have a couple of other cameras set up, so we're going to do stuff with those as well. Hello in chat there. All right, let's flick over to a different camera. Let's try this one to start with. Yeah, look at that. That's so much better. All right. So we have Strange Young Man here. Currently, it's sporting its axe mechanism because I used it for a demonstration recently, which means I had to put a weapon back on it. It doesn't travel with weapons on it. Oh, come on, top-down camera. Oh, this is not going to be fun. Okay, maybe we have to swap to the other camera. Let's swap to the other camera. That one. Maybe we'll see how we go. Oh, I really, really hope that this works. Hello? It's not doing the thing. Okay, that's fun. Hmm. Let's just see if we can get this to refresh itself. You are going to have to bear with me here. This is a brand new stream setup, and obviously things are not working as well as they possibly could. Let's just actually do that. Do that. Does that make the thing work? Turn it off and on again. Also, please let me know if you can hear me. I'm running off of my lav mics at the moment. And again, also a new thing. There's lots of new in this stream right now. And that camera has decided it does not want to work while streaming. That's not fun. What stream doesn't have stuff? Yeah, no, a lot of streams have scuff. This is possibly going to be like the most scuff I have ever done with a stream. We're going to stick with this camera here for the moment. Audio is perfect. Great. At least something is going well today. We're going to start with this camera and see, yeah, how we go. Um, so we've got two bolts in the neck holding in the axe. So we're just going to get rid of those. I might even be able to turn this around so it's a little more clear what I'm doing. Yeah, look at that. Until, of course, this camera decides it just wants to, like, do a random autofocus. I don't know if I can fix that problem. Um, do, do, do. Yeah, I used to have on my main streaming setup, I have a different thing that allows me to control when that camera decides to autofocus, but I don't have it on this particular laptop that I'm using. So we're just maybe going to have to deal with that happening. I don't know why it suddenly decides out of the blue that actually it really, really needs to autofocus. That is quite annoying. Yeah, this is probably going to be the most fun stream I've ever done. I'm sorry about that. But we're in it now. So why am I doing this? I have a power screwdriver. I'm going to go get that because otherwise we're going to sit here for a long time watching me take out single bolts. Of course, not that that was not a feature of my channel already, watching me take single bolts out of a thing. This is going to annoy me a lot. I'm so sorry about that. Hello to Team Junkyard Dog in chat there. All right, well, let's get these screws out of here. It's not very bad. Okay, at least it's like semi-watchable. I will have to work that out between now and the next time I decide to stream in the shed because I would like to be able to use this space more, um, and eventually like film videos in here and stuff. Also, I'm told that's horrid on audio, but that's alright. Can we? Alright, once I've got this bolt out, because this camera is annoying me, I'm gonna see if I can get the other camera to work. Ah, okay. Why is that so wedged in there right now? I can put this up on this camera even too. That's in there more than it has ever been before. Even the time I ran it in combat, it wasn't quite this bad. What is on up with you today? Oh man, the scuff on this stream is so real. All right, let's try this other camera. Nope, it's still frozen. Why is it frozen? That's so annoying. All right, well, we're gonna try. Let me just do a different thing here. No. I'm gonna try things on the fly. Um, do. Give me half a second. I'm gonna try and fix this camera because if I can fix this camera, things will be a little bit better. All right, that might help. Um, now we want other thing. Razor saying, I saw your save the date post in the group chat for Havoc 8. Nice touch. Yeah, that was one of the guys at ARC said something about telling people to save the date, and I was like, oh, I have to make that. That'd be too funny. Ah, I see. Okay. Maybe? All right, let's see if that works. Oh, got rid of the face cam, but that's all right. We can maybe save that. Hey, there we go. All right. How are we? Is that working? It seems to be doing a thing. All right, we'll see how we go. Back to what we were trying to do, which is getting this guy out of here, which is apparently decided to be problematic. All right. Well, look, we've got rid of a little bit of the scuff then, at least from the scream. Team Junkyard Dog say we have a robot fighting channel as well. Learned a lot from me when you first started. Oh, that's good. Well, welcome into the stream. Hopefully things get a little less scuffed from here on out, because this has been a very scuffed start. Hmm. Okay, I think we're gonna have to lever this out somehow. What have I got? I have got a screwdriver. I'm gonna lean it back and like see what I can do to poke it out. Or maybe that's a better option. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing. Understand how this has got so wedged in here. Like, it's supposed to just slide out, and yet I've spent more time on this than I thought I was going to. Oh, I can get that. Let's see if we can do that. Hey, there we go. All right. Got a screwdriver in underneath it. This is very hard for you to see. Let's go this way around. There you go. Screwdriver in through the hole in the back. I'm just wedging it up. There we go. Oh, all right. Well, that kind of worked. We'll just ignore that I almost hit my own foot with an axe handle. Well, axe head. Um, hello in chat. All right. If you are joining us now, you have missed a very tough start of the stream. So welcome to the better part of the stream. So I think I'm going to move this camera down a little bit. I don't really need that much face cam. There's not really much I'm doing in this view. It's mostly for him. So next thing up is these arms. So getting these arms on and off is an interesting process because everything kind of locks together. So it's almost best there are bolts, two bolts on either side, M8 bolts locking this front bar in place. And then on the side here, if I do this and do this, can you focus on that? Yeah, look at that. Oh. So in here, we have a cross-locked bolt that keeps these side arms on. Now, I can take these off right now, and that's not really going to help or hurt anything, because I actually need to get these bolts out before these arms will, well, in theory, before they come off. But if you saw the fight report, you know that losing this bolt here does mean that the arms can disconnect if they so choose. On a big hit, they can just drop out of the way, which they were never really supposed to do that. They weren't ever designed to have enough clearance to do that. And yet somehow it is a thing that did end up happening in the fight against the nasty grabber pincher robot. So yeah, that wasn't intentional, and certainly wasn't supposed to be a thing that could happen. Let's turn this guy around, get the other one out. You can also see some of the damage from the undercutter that happened in that fight as well. But thankfully, the undercutter, when it was undercutting, it was slamming directly into the Hardock's corner here. So you can see it's like peeled away at this plastic and left everything else totally fine, which is great. We like that. We like that a lot. Oh, this guy's just got a regular nut and bolt on, but that's okay. All right. And then, yeah, the next thing is going to be sorting out this crossbar. Now, I've got tools, some tools for this. Not all of them though. I may have to go scrounging. That's a 15, that's a 12. Whoops. I am looking for a 13 because that's what this guy is. M8 need a 13 mil spanner to get them off. And in actual fact, I'm probably going to need two of those. Right, let's sort this out. So I'm going to do vaguely that. If I can get this to balance. Just going to make sure I'm not going to kill my computer. I'm not. Good. So let's do this. Get that to vaguely balance, and then I'll focus on that because that's the next thing we're going to be looking at. All right, up we go. There we go. All right. Okay. Right. So this is the next bolts to come out. Of course, once I find the right spanners to do that with. I should have them because, of course, I've pulled this thing apart and put it back together kind of recently. So I should have things around the place that will let me do this. Of course, I pulled them all out of my robot bags. That's a 10. Nope. Ah, stay still. Okay, good. Oh, where have all of those gone? Okay. Well, that's fun. We're gonna have to fudge this a little bit. What would the screen be without a little bit more jank? So we're gonna do channel locks and an actual thing, just because that's what I've got. It would be much easier to do this with the correct tools, but here we are. All right. Oh, and of course, now I'm just like going to be blocking your view of what I'm doing. That's great. The stream jank continues. Welcome to the jankiest stream that I have ever done and possibly will ever do. Okay, well, thankfully, these aren't lock nuts. So by the time I get a single See if I can do this in such a way that you can kind of sort of see what I'm doing. There we go. Much better. Alright, so coming out of there. Alright. One nut and one bolt. And then we'll do this one. Huh, actually, I might make this camera a little bit bigger because you can kind of actually see what I'm doing on this camera. Look at that. There we go. Okay, much better. Oh, trying to put down a nut that wasn't actually in the clamps at all. Now, okay, this is going to be slightly tricky because there's a lot of stuff not connected anymore, so I'm going to have to hold it all together. The pan strange young man around. Oh, I am dropping things left and right today. It's all right. It's a scuff scream. We're just going to lean into the scuff. Okay. Two more of these, and then our arm is off entirely. We want to do the one closest to me first. Oh, actually, that's a good point. When one's done, I can just like, ay, ay, ay. I am not thinking today. All right, let's sort this out then. So one arm off. Now I'm gonna have to do something about these arms because hang on, I'll get this on this camera. You can see here we've lost big chunks from the undercutting saw. There we go. Do that properly. So the saw that was an undercutter and an overcutter in the same fight has cut massive sections off down this arm. So I'm probably gonna need to weld that back, like just do some like fill weld in here, weld that all back, get it all sorted, and then sand it back again if I use these arms. I was intending to like maybe use different arms in the future, but for now these ones are working, so I don't know, we'll see. All right, let us kind of go back to like here. That'll do. Just kind of changing all sorts of things on the fly. I hope that this is somewhat intelligible as to what I'm actually doing. There we go. But this arm off does mean that this next part is a little bit easier because I can, yeah, do this a little bit easier. And of course, because they're not lock nuts, it's a lot easier than when it was actually being put together for combat. Obviously, you cannot run M8 bolts in a robot that is going into combat that aren't lock nuts because that's just a recipe for a bad, bad time. Well, I guess you can. You just need to use Loctite, which we are going to be contending with later on because the wheels on this thing are currently held in mostly with Loctite. So we're going to have to flame that and try and get those off, which is going to be a problem, I would suggest. That's part of why I want to do this on camera was and like in a stream is so that you can all see the struggle in real time because I am betting this is going to be quite the struggle. All right, come on, come out. There we go. All right, cool. We have crossbar. We have other other arm. Let's put that on camera. There we go. All right. Now, I'm going to maybe go back to the top down for a second because we want this top chassis off, or the lid, the top of the chassis, which is the lid. Oh boy, okay. Today is just going to be an interesting one, that's for sure. All right, there we go. In here, let's do that one. Okay, like so, like so. All right, there we go. You can kind of see that, and hopefully this camera doesn't decide it's just gonna like keep changing focus all the time on us, because that was annoying. So we've got the lid. Here we go, and then that comes off, and we see the absolute mess that is the inside of this robot. Yeah, I mean also the absolute mess that is this face right now. The problem with this right now is that I didn't put a plastic primer on this, and this is a TPU head so that it can squish. But that does mean that when I do that, the paint just flakes off in tiny little chunks, so you get like little green glitter all over your hands, which is not fun, really. But it is what it is. Next time I will plastic primer this properly so it doesn't do quite this badly. I'm not going to take the head off for now. This lid did take quite the beating. You can see all the damage and wear in it and stuff, mostly from the saw. But you know, there's a couple of marks and stuff from the crusher as well. Mm. Yeah, and a couple of marks like inside from the crusher too. But that's right. For now, this goes on the floor like that. Because this is the bit that I care the most about at this point. Now, one of the things that did happen at the end of those fights was that one of my wheels bound. I cannot remember which one it was. So this one seems okay. How about this one? That one seems alright. The Crusher robot was really cool. Yeah, I liked Fang quite a lot. Um, I love that they like leaned in and put googly eyes on it and stuff. That was really good. Huh. Maybe it is this one. Because this one is. Oh, okay. Yeah, so there is a bind point in this. Like every now and again, as I'm flicking it round, I get a little like grab on it. Uh, yeah, there it is. Okay, so that gearbox I think is our problem point. I'm hoping it's the gearbox and not the motor because if it's the motor, that would be a real pain. But the gearbox is fine. Like I've got replacement gearboxes and it should be fairly easy to do. If it's the motor, I have a replacement motor as well, but it's just like that's going to be more of an issue to change, basically. Um, yeah. So again, hoping that that is gearbox. All right, but there's a lot of tape and stuff inside here, so I should pick up the tools that I dropped earlier. Because we don't want to be tripping over those during stream. All right, there's also a lot of duct tape and mess in here, so a lot of this duct tape can come out. Oh my God. Not sure how well it shows up on camera, but there is so much arena gunk on this tape. Oh, this is a bad idea. I'm inviting the camera to like refocus. That's a bad idea. Yeah, oh my God. All of this tape is just clogged full of arena junk. That's kind of what happens. I feel like, especially the featherweights, make so much more dust and dirt and debris and stuff. Um, all robots do to some extent, but like, especially the heavier classes just seem to like massively pollute the arena with gunk, basically. It also doesn't help that the first wheel set of wheels in this robot were rubber wheels that I was literally just shredding the outer layer on the whole time. So I was definitely a part of the problem, um, putting a ton of gunk into the arena every time I spun my wheels, which was often. Okay, so we've got some go. So I've got some Y harnesses here, which are to do the drive system. I'm gonna have to just like unplug basically everything here. So my receiver sat down in this side, there's a little piece of Velcro right down in there, which is where the receiver sat. So all of the receiver wires go to this point and then span out into the robot. So uh, the receiver wires that came out to the back section fed in here under this block and through, and then got taped down here and then ran up to their respective ESCs. This side just kind of like came up over the battery box, which is what this is, but it didn't really do its job because I overheated and killed the battery and it just like expanded, which was not great. Yeah, and then the weapon stuff just kind of sat in the middle of the robot underneath the bar here. Um, yeah, I guess there's no point really saving any of the wiring configuration here. I'm gonna have to rebuild this thing from scratch, which basically does mean going through and like redoing drive plugs and bits and pieces. Probably maybe keep hold of it. Okay, let's do all of this. Oh yes, there's my vest in the bottom here, which ended up being the world's most expensive back for a couple of fights because I was having trouble with it. So it just ended up sitting there to provide 5 volts to the receiver, which is the silliest ever use for one of these things. Having said that, this is an old an old VEC variant. Um, so it's certainly not the best ESC around anymore. This is actually one of the ones from Hobby King, I believe. Yeah, from a long, long while ago. The newer vests are much, much better than that one. But that's okay. It's what I had, so it's what I used. All right. Oh, well, it seems like we've got rain outside. I don't know if you can hear the rain outside. I hope you can't. OBS is usually pretty good at filtering out noise, especially coming off a lav mic like this. It should be okay. Um, But this is also one of the other reasons this stream is kind of early, like it's earlier than I would normally run a stream. And that is because I'm doing this out in my shed. I am reliant on slightly good weather. And also, as the sun goes down and stuff, I'm going to get bugs in here like crazy. So I kind of want to finish this up before I get like killed on the bugs, basically. So yeah, that's that's part of the reason we're this early, although I'm not sure how often I'll do an early stream like this. This was probably too early because time zones are a thing, and I think that most of the US and most of the UK are asleep right now, so unfortunately they're going to have to catch up later if they want to catch up later, and they aren't put off by the massive amount of rank that is the start of this stream. So, okay. Oh yes, yeah, yeah. For those who weren't here at the start of the thing, this is my shed. Well, this is the front section of my shed. I have another whole like section over that way, but we're not going in there because it's real messy. Um, and as much as I've been trying to clean it, it is still very, very messy. So, okay. Well, that's most of the power system removed. Oh, right. This is the lights, the headlights. So up in the head, there are 2 LEDs behind these lenses, and they have a plug on them, and that plug gets fed down into the receiver, and the receiver runs those, and that's what this cable is for that I've just pulled out and looked very confusedly at. Um, but there was a rule change this year specifically. Normally, those LEDs in the eyes are my like power indication lights. For this particular event, they were not allowed to be the power indication lights. They had to be like it had to be a light buried in the robot somewhere that wasn't going to get hit. So I was like, "Oh yeah, I've got them in the eyes," and they're like, "No, absolutely not. Those eyes are going to be destroyed. We need you to be able to see your power indicator all the time. So I had to put in a brand new one. And yeah, I'm not sure I really even ran the eyes as much as I should have. There was a couple of times in particular where I put the robot into the fight and I was like, oh, I forgot to plug the eyes in. Oops. So that was not very good of me when that is one of this robot's key charms is his nice little light up eyes. Also, running them on 5 volts certainly didn't make them like super visible either. Um, which was a bit of a shame because they're really cool when they're visible. People seem to like them in the audience and stuff. Well, pulling out a lot of tape and a lot of wiring, we're seeming to get somewhere. It's certainly less of a mess than it was before. Um, I do want to go through, so we can take this power distribution board on. This is my power distribution for this entire thing. This runs through this PCB totally fine. And this really does help neaten up the wiring on things quite a lot. Although having said that, I need to make another one because you can see I've got a Y harness in here, which I only need that because one of the ports I didn't actually put cabling in. Uh, can I get that on camera? Yeah, in there. What ESC am I using for drive? I am using these. Hang on. They are a AM3280 amp, I believe. Hang on a second. I know I've got some in the other room. I will grab one that's not like packaged up and ready to be used in a drive. All right, let's see if we can go to this camera. Is that camera still working? Ah, that camera's working this time. All right, cool. So, if I can get these are what I'm using. They are Flying RC 75 amp ESCs. This particular one in this packet has a back in it. The ones in the robot already don't have backs in them. I got these because I want to run the weapon for Strange Young Man on a ESC that's got a back in it, or at least on an ESC like these, because I end up running them for the weapon for the final fight. I use one of my spares, and that's why my vest ended up being the ESC with Beck that I was running. But these things are very, very cool. Hang on a second. So as mentioned, they are a 75 amp, yes, 75 amp ESC. They're actually quite small for what they are. Let's see if I can get this on camera again. Come on, camera. Focus up. There we go. Yeah. So they're quite small and they come with heat sinks and stuff. And I found that using some like thermal tape basically to attach the heatsink, they survive bites really, really well. I was very, very happy with these. Hang on a second. All right, so we're going to go back to top down. Have they failed before? No. So this is one of the, actually, I'm going to unplug this and I'm going to take it over to the other camera because the other camera is better. And you will see just how much abuse this had. So these ESCs sat here on top of the drive pods and then had the lid squished down on top of them. And if I swap over to this camera and do this, and do this, you can maybe see that the heatsink on the top of these things got like mangled by the lid. Oh no, here we go. This side. Ah, it's hard to do this looking at two different screens. Hang on. There we go. Yeah, there you go. You can kind of see it there. These got mangled by being squished down by the lid. And also the drive system in this robot. Hang on, let's go back here. The drive system in this robot is stupid. It is a 4250 motor into a 3-to-1 gearbox onto the wheel. There is basically no gear reduction in here. This robot would do over 50 k's an hour at its top speed on 6S. That's insane. It was way, way, way too fast for me to ever actually achieve out of the robot. And these 75 amp AM32 ESCs like held that totally fine. I had five of them. I had the four that are in here and a spare. I only used the spare when I decided to swap my weapon from the vest over to one of them because uh, the drive was running way too fast. Between days, I swapped from 6S to 4S, and that helped the drive a lot because it wasn't trying to put quite so much power through the system. Um, and yeah, I use my spare drive ESC as a weapon ESC because the vests don't like changing voltages like that. And vests are work way better on 6S and up. So yeah, throwing those at the problem, it just worked, basically. They are very compact. They worked really, really well. I am very happy with them. I will be using them again for sure. This drive system was stupid. Don't do this drive system. It's far too fast. Really, it needs a ton more gear reduction, but um, I probably will end up running it again just because I have it already, and I think that running it on 4S or 3S, it works like perfectly well. So I'm just gonna keep doing it until I kill all the gearboxes I have for it. But yeah, ESCs, fine, liked them. And yeah, like I said, all four of them are coming out of this event unscathed, um, and ready to fight again, basically. I mean, yeah, other than the very, very minor fins being compressed by the top plate jamming down on them. But that hasn't seemed to like have anything fail or anything like that. And again, the heat sinks are just pushed in with a like thermal double-sided tape. I'm not even like I haven't glued them down. I haven't used like a good like thermal compound. It's literally just thermal double-sided tape that's holding everything together. And yeah, it worked. They didn't even get hot enough to like remelt. There's hot glue inside the ends to like hold all the wires and stuff in place, and then it didn't even get hot enough to do that. Talking of gearboxes, how's the weapon system? Oh god. Oh, it's a can of worms. That's such a can of worms. Um, all right, here, let's 4x is surprising. That's what your ant rate runs on. No ant weight should be running with full S. That's ridiculous. 2S all the way for ant weights. That's all you need in an ant weight. Um, all right, let's talk weapon system. To do that, I'm gonna focus in on this side panel. We're gonna take the side panel off, and we'll have a look at the weapon system. Let's go over here because my God, the weapon system is like such a thing. Um, that we need to have a bit of a look at. It's so nice being able to just like change where I'm looking with that type of stuff. And okay, that's the last bit of tape out of there. Oh yeah, this base plate material was a bad, bad idea. It's just all warped and cracked and horrible. And I need Allen keys off the wall. It's a good thing about filming out in my shed is that if I've forgotten anything, I can just turn around and grab it because it's mostly all out here. All right, so I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna get that. Come on. Yes, of course, I'm gonna have to also do the ones on the side here too, but that's okay. We'll get to that in 30 seconds. Can't wait for the next series of videos about how the weapon system keeps going wrong again. Um, I'm gonna say the weapon. So, in preparation for sorting out the weapon system, I have gone ahead and got this. This is a basically 200 to 1 gearbox. It's about half of what the major gearbox that I was using for the lifter was last time. And the plan is to run this with a 4 to 1 gear system between the output here and the actual output shaft of the system. So in that way, this gearbox doesn't take anywhere near as much torque as the old system I was trying to do, and I'm going to try and run it off of like basically metal printed gears. I think. Um, I I think that's going to be the best way to do it. I'm not like 100% committed to that idea yet, but I think that's going to be the best way to do it. And all going like horribly, horribly wrong with that, the 4 to 1 gear set that I'll get printed, I could use with the current motor setup in here and run the hammer again because the current system is using 3 to 1 on the belt and it's able to self right off of that without like killing itself too much other than the belt dies all the time. So I'm thinking if I run it in gears on 4 to 1, it should have more than enough torque to self-right and do all the things I need it to. So, 4 to 1 gear set printed in metal is the next plan for this. And I really, really, really hope, crossing all my fingers, that I don't have to um like deal with yeah, any more issues with that. Do I own a 3D printer? Yes, I own multiple 3D printers. I currently have 5 printers in this shed. Of those 5, 2 of them are working. One of them will work with a little bit of modification and maintenance. One of them has a dead motherboard in it. Um, and just won't power up anymore. And the other one, like the fifth one, is the first ever printer I owned, which I got in like 2014. It's a Printerbot Junior, if that means anything to anybody, which they're a laser cut wooden framed 3D printer, which are a bad idea. Um, they like because wood takes on moisture, so as you get dry days and humid days, the printer volume changes or like the printer geometry changes. That thing has been dead for a while. It could possibly still turn on, but the extruder basically died. Like the entire extruder assembly died. Um, of course, you're going to print your own gears. You print everything. I didn't say I was going to print them. I might be getting printing them because that might be a smart thing to do. I know that printed gears, like fully TPU printed gears, like I've done with this pulley, probably won't survive. So I'm going to need something stronger than what I can print, I think. So the current plan is to get some help printing some interesting materials to get that to work. So now we need to get these side bracings off. That's too big. I'm gonna move this guy back in half a second. Yeah, there we go. All right, that's better. But yes, no, the plan is still to print them, just not in plastics that I have access to, or in plastic at all, even. We'll see how we go on that one. That will depend on a couple of different factors. There is always PCB way. They might be who I was referring to. Honestly, they are, even though they are a sponsor, I would probably be using them even if they weren't sponsoring me because they are a very handy resource to be able to have access to. Like being able to send them a file and having them print something in tool steel and send it back to you is incredible. Like that was not something that you could just do up until, a couple of years ago. Um, and that's insane. Like that's a crazy thing to be able to do. And, it was probably going to help with stuff like this. Have you looked into flexible shaft coupling so there's less shock for the gears to deal with impacts? I have not. That's not a bad idea. Um, no, this one's going to be a problem child, I believe. This is great footage for you guys. I feel like a style of robot making is old school exoskeleton steel frames. I feel like the Strat is aluminium frames with a blade of armor on the outside. Is there any reason you don't follow that trend? Yes, because I cannot machine large chunks of aluminium myself. Basically, I have a little CNC machine. I've never tried to get it to print or to cut aluminium frames. Um, if I end up with a CNC machine that can do billet aluminium, then I will uh, go down the path of alley frames. But for now, at this point, it's much, much easier for me to get Hardox laser cut and weld everything together than it is to outsource all of the CNCing for a whole um, like aluminium frame. Problem child, the successor to Strange Young Man. Uh, so the successor to Strange Young Man may end up being a like sibling to Strange Young Man. I have had thoughts about taking the hammer build of Strange Young Man and turning it into its own actual robot. Uh, under the name Wacky Young Man, just because I like that idea. Like building that robot is 90% for the name and 10% uh for actually fighting this thing. Alright, come on. Almost done here. I think we're getting there. Oh boy, this panel is beat to hell. Okay. Well, we've got two more screws to go, and then this panel will come off, and then we can talk about the weapon system, which is what we were doing this all for in the first place. Here we go. Alright, this is going to be a little easier. Yeah, I also think that the next version of Strange Young Man will have different panels on the sides because these panels just did not work. Oh, damn, ads just got in the way. Huh, okay. What did you miss? Because obviously stream chat has a lag, so I don't know exactly where you got up to. I was talking about successes to Strange Young Man. I don't know if you guys all heard that or not. All right, let's do this. Yeah, that's much better. Oh, and I'm gonna lose this panel to the floor. Ah, I forget to retitle this stream. Ben drops all the things on the floor. Oh, that's the wrong way. I want to go the other way. There we go. Ah, if I can get laser cut Hardox, why can't I get laser cut aluminium? Uh, Look, I probably could, but I know of a company that does laser cut Hardox. And also, I can't weld aluminium, which means I would need to use other methods of joining it, which probably means many, many hours of tapping aluminium parts. Which, yeah, no, no. I'm not a fan of tapping just in general. So, yeah, I'm uh, I'm gonna give that a miss, basically. Like, if I can't get a robot to do it for me for for tapping specifically, or pay somebody to do it for me, it's very rarely going to happen effectively. So, all right, this is our side panel off. Oh, this thing is rough as guts. Look at that. So, nut strips. You can't get nut strips in Australia. Nut strips do not exist here. Much like aluminum extrusion. The like T profile, or like the aluminum profile stuff that has like you can slot peanuts and stuff into, you can get it if you buy it in a machine. But if you're just like, oh, I want 2 meters of that, you cannot get it in Australia. Like, unless you are a company buying like a pallet of it at a time, it just does not exist as a hobbyist. I can't just be like, hey, cool, I'm gonna go over there and I'm gonna buy that and it's gonna come and be here cheaply and easily. It is difficult to get hold of. It's very, very annoying. Um, which, yeah, makes it very difficult to be in the DIY community when so many people are like, cool, I'm just gonna like make myself a CNC machine and I'm gonna go and buy 2020 and that will be the frame of my machine. Or like, make a new 3D printer and buy 2020. And it's like, cool, I can buy that in meter long lengths from AliExpress for triple what you'd pay for it in America or Europe, which is crazy. It's nuts. Um, anyway, yes, these panels, I don't think I'm going to do again. So I cannot remember what this stuff is actually called, but you can see on the edge here that I've got metal and then black plastic, and then there's actually metal again on the other side. This is some kind of like signboarding material, which is literally just plastic encased in 2 layers of metal, and then they've both got a little like white plastic outer on them as well. This stuff, I wanted to try and be a little bit more like saw resistant than just like raw HDPE, but as you can see, it really didn't do a good job. I think I would be better doing like a thin sheet of HDPE on its own and then a thin sheet of aluminium on its own, and that would work way, way better than this kind of like pre-made stuff. I mean, the other thing is I don't actually know what the metal is or what the plastic is. I just know that it is a plastic wrapped in metal. Um, and in combat robots, the actual material makes a whole lot of difference. Um, Swordfish, as mentioned, you can get extrusion on AliExpress, but they won't ship anything over a meter quantity. Oh, sorry, over a meter length, which makes it kind of useless for most things because you can only get parts that are like, big or whatever. That's it. It's just a pain. Okay, so let's talk about this problem system down here. I'm gonna hoik that to the floor. By and we're gonna zoom in a little bit, manually zoom. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So current system, there's a 13-to-1 gearbox here, fairly decent sized motor at the back, a pulley here, and then a belt up to a TPU printed pulley. The biggest problem that we faced with this whole system was destroying the teeth on the gearboxes. Hang on a second. You were talking about nut strip. I don't know about nut strip on AliExpress. If there is nut strip on AliExpress, I should have a look at that, try and track it down. Um, because that would make my life a lot easier in some of my builds, that's for sure. Yeah. BYB opening an aluminium extrusion supply company in Australia. Oh my God, there are so many makers here in Australia who would love you to pieces for that. Because yeah, like I said, we just can't get it here. And sometimes that's fine. No, don't worry about asking questions. That is totally okay. The whole point of today's stream is to stand here, talk straight about this robot that I'm tearing apart, and answer questions and talk to you guys in chat and stuff. Like it's that's what we're doing here. Um, yeah. So yes, going back to Reese's question about the weapon system, the motor itself is still fine. Like this weapon motor system is all still fine. It all still works. It does the thing. It was just that I was stripping belts like absolute crazy. And when I was stripping belts, I was just stripping the teeth off the belts. You can see in here, if I can get the belt to the right spot, you can see in here, you can see the fiber reinforcing. Can you see the fiber reinforcing? Come on. Let me see if I can get this angled so that you can see everything you need to see. Yeah, there you go. Those lines are the fiber reinforcing in the belt, which means that the teeth have been ripped all the way back to the fiber reinforcing in the belt, which is just insane. Um, so realistically, I could fix this problem. I could either go up a belt size. So these are HDT 5 belts. I could go up to HDT 8 belts. And then there'll be more grip on the teeth and stuff, and that should help a lot. Um, or the other thing I could do is put in a longer belt. So at the moment, if I put this on, mostly on, you can see that this is kind of the profile we get. If I put on a longer belt, moved the weapon motor back just a little bit, and then pinch the belt in, like so, and get more tooth wrap on the lower pulley, that would probably fix that problem as well. Obviously, this belt isn't long enough, and you can see it's going to come off over this side. This would probably fix the problem as well. Uh, but I don't know. I am kind of the like once burnt, twice try kind of mentality on a it's broken on me once already. Maybe if I just go to tool steel gears, then that'll fix that problem and I won't have to worry about it from here on out. So that's kind of what I'm thinking is I'm going to go to the tool steel gears and just hope. Basically, we'll see how we go. Cool. All right. Well, that's the weapon system. Like I said, it's mostly still together. I think the other problem here is that this pulley, which is very hard to see right now. Let's see if I can get a bit more light over here on this pulley. I'm going to take away my camera light to do this. Yeah, so ah, this is gone poorly. Okay, so this pulley has little burrs and things. You can see here, I've got a little burr. And if I go around, yeah, there are other points where it's like gone sharp. Because that pulley isn't actually, well, was never supposed to be in this robot. It was originally, for very, very obvious, my full open featherweight, and it sat underneath the weapon in very, very obvious for a long time and has been like touched by the weapon blade from very, very obvious a couple of times, which is why it's kind of worn away and it's got little patches of like sharp metal bits on it. Yes, they are on the flanges on the outside, and they shouldn't really have affected anything, but it's very possible that they did like cut the belt up a little bit. I can't say for certain, but again, I wouldn't be surprised. Now I'm gonna try and get this off here. Oh, it just loosened up and came off. No real issues at all. Okay. I do wonder, looking in here, if it's rounded off any of those grub screws. That could be the reason why it was able to loosen up like that. Also, that is not very good. You shouldn't be able to just like wobble a thing off like that. Yeah, obviously, the big problem that I'm going to face with all of this is getting the torque out of this gearbox into whatever it is that I'm using. Gears, pulleys, whatever. I need to get torque out of this motor shaft down in here, which is a little D shaft, and up into here. And I need to get lots of torque through that way, which of course we had issue with the drive. So this could be a problem child again. I'm not really looking forward to that, but again, I think if I do metal print things, I can metal print a D shaft shape, and that shouldn't get rounded out like this guy. I don't know if he's got rounded out or not. It's very, very difficult to tell. There's definitely some like smooth on the end of the grub screw there, which I think is just rubber from the teeth. Okay, yes, this guy's definitely got a little bit of wear on the end of it, and I cannot show you that. That's just going to be way too difficult to get on camera properly. But there is the ever so slightest amount of wear on the bottom here, which probably is how that pulley ended up coming loose and just like wobbling off the system. Okay, what I want to do next, I think maybe the power system. I think maybe the power system. Maybe let's do that. So over here we have the power system. So there's a hole here, which is our screw switch, and it's held in with two bolts, this guy and that guy. This one is the one that holds the wall on. So we can't even take the wall off until we've taken this guy out of here. Now that will be M5? Yeah, look at that. Now, M5 is an 8 mil. That's that guy. That's that guy. Off we go. The bolts here are quite long, but there's not much thread holding everything together, so it shouldn't actually take. Thread was a very technical term. Don't dish the smooth. Oh my god, I cannot talk today. That's great for a day that I decided to stream, not being able to say words goodly. Yes, smooth is a very technical term. I heard it on this old, well, this old Tony and Big Clive, like they're technical people. I trust them and their technical jargon. Right, we're almost there on this guy. Man, these bolts actually may have been longer than they needed to be. Which is, of course, always a problem. You really do want to, especially at this size of robot, you really do want to only have the right amount of bulk for the thing you're trying to do. Excess bulk starts to get expensive weight-wise as you go on. So, all right, here we go. This is our system, and then it's got a little TPU mounting block, just so that it. Hang on, let's move this guy out of the way a little bit. There we go. So yeah, I had a TPU mounting block sitting here at the front, so that it had a little bit of like play between it and the wall that it was attached to. And then this is our actual screw switch block, which was just a ABS print with some parts inside to hold onto some contactor pieces. I never made a video about this, partly because I wanted to get to this point today. Before I did that, I wanted to like look at how well this had held up, because it could be that we open this up and there's just like some massive burn mark on the inside here. And if that's the case, I don't want to release these files and really do a video about it unless I've got a better system to replace it with effectively. Also, this switch is massive. Like, for where it went in the robot, it's huge. Hang on, let's go back to, if we go over here, you can see, if I put this back where it went, like, that's a huge chunk of space in the robot. It's basically the same size as the weapon motor and cover here. Like, especially by the time you put the little, like, mounting block on it. This is big. This is very, very big. It doesn't need to be this big. The contact components in here are rated for enough that you could probably run this as a heavyweight switch. But it was the components I had, so that's the components we went with now. And that was the, yep, that's the right one there. And I'm just going to pop this guy apart because I am curious to see how the inside of this actually looks. No, I'm not gonna. Damn yeah. Trying really, really hard not to drop even more things on the ground in this stream. I feel like I've done enough of that already today. That's one of those things. Is the yellow PLA? No, the yellow is ABS. Because it was running current in through here, so I wanted it to be as temperature resistant as possible. All right. So in here we have our screw. We have a little plate that just isolated the screw from the copper bar underneath. This is a big copper bar. And then we have the copper bar, and in here we have two little contacts as well. Um, but you can see, if I bring this over here, yeah, you can see, so there are marks on each of these. Oh, come on. No, there we go. So there are marks on the silvered contacts on this bar where there's been electrical arcing occurring. And that is what happens when you have 6S and you don't do a soft start system. So the next plan for this is going to be to do a start system, especially as, yeah, we've definitely got arcing occurring on all the major contacts in here. Because, yeah, again, if we look inside here, like so, you can see the arcing points in there as well. So, look, it did the job. It worked okay, but it definitely needed a soft start in it. Look, I can clean these up. That's fine. I agree. I could Scotch Brite those and they would work again. But I was looking for a system you didn't have to clean up effectively. Like I was looking for being able to set and forget, like bolt this whole thing together once, and then once it's together, you never have to open the thing up again. And I don't think that's possible without running a start system. There, 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 there. Words are very hard today. On a day I decided to stream, which is fine. We love that. I'm also gonna put this guy back together just a little bit. Although I will need to take it apart again and take photos of that system being broken. Oh, camera, come on. All right, let's just do that and then I should be fine. Because yes, a fellow robotee here in Adelaide wanted to know if the system worked, and the system did work, but I think I need to tell him that yes, you could do it with this, but you'd need scotch. You'd need to do maintenance on it or run a soft start system on it. So, that's possible. Yeah, yeah. Look, I feel like there's just something that happens when you start streaming where your brain just like, oh, time to forget all the words and not be able to say any of them. It's just a problem. I'm also doing a terrible, terrible job at keeping things in frame and in focus today. Well, look, we're in a new setup and it's all stuffed, so it's fine. Is there any room for optimization in terms of shrinking the footprint with those exact parts? No. But there is room for optimization. Hang on a second. These. So I've got new sets of parts which are rated for different ratings effectively. These are also contact internals, but these are a whole lot smaller than the internals you just saw in this thing. And they should also work for what we're doing. Contactor ratings are interesting to try and like map over to combat robotics stuff. Because like contactors run at 240 volts or higher, and they usually run 240 volts at a fairly low number of amps, whereas we're running things at like 24 volts at a high number of amps. So you need to kind of almost match power rating rather than matching voltage and amperage. Hello, Puztech, who says, when is the next Robot Havoc? The next Robot Havoc is in August, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in Adelaide. So at the moment, Robot Havocs are run on the same days as another event called Science Alive. We are run as part of Science Alive. And yeah, the next Science Alive is the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of August. So if you want to compete or you want to come and watch, that is when it is. Registration has not been opened yet for Havoc. Registration will be open at the end of the month. 1st of June is when registration opens for Havoc. However, that only got announced like yesterday, so I could not have told you that information yesterday. Well, like 3 days ago, basically. All right. Next things next. What are we going to do now? We might as well take all the walls off, I guess. Um, oh, I'm glad that you're looking forward to it. Havoc is a lot of fun. It is our big event of the year, and just so much happens. What rate classes run at Havoc? It varies depending on the year. Um, So we have run everything from ants all the way up to feathers in the past. This year we're having feathers back again for the first time in about 3 years, but it's featherweight sportsmen's. So we this year we're running featherweight sportsmen's, hobbies, beetles, and destructive ants. There is no non-destructive ants this year. Uh, Simply because we do not have time. Like, we are running way too many classes to be able to also run the non-destructive ants as well, effectively. I think I'm going to try and take this wall off now. I think that's my next best move. Um, we don't have any fleas in Havoc this year. Fleas are still a kind of new class. We really are only running them fairly intermittently at the moment. Um, yeah, I think you need to just like fleas are going to be more of a main monthly meet thing, and it's mostly going to be when people have fleas ready to run. Um, yeah, fleas are a really, really interesting class. I've having a lot of fun working on my flea and using that to bash up other people's fleas. Um, but yeah, it's not. I don't think it's ever going to be a class that has like a ton of people building for it, unfortunately. Which is a bit of a shame because again, it is a fun class. It's just also a very hard class to build for. It's way harder than an ant weight. Um, Yeah, a lot of people struggle, and I think batteries are also like a big problem with flea weights. I have like custom built 2S batteries that I run for fleas, and I tried to buy more of the 1S packs that I use to make my custom batteries, and I didn't do it correctly. I got the new batteries in and they didn't have the right capacity, basically. And so they were useless for fleas, which is a shame because I was planning on making a batch of them and selling them so that fleas became a little bit more accessible. But unfortunately, they didn't work out. So I'm going to have to go through and maybe look at another supplier and another type of battery and see if I can actually get some flea batteries more accessible. Uh, because I think with flea batteries more accessible, people will be able to build more interesting fleas, and then hopefully there'll be some more interest in the class, which would be great. Most of mine on 1S with a single cell, which works on the bench. Yeah, fair enough. Nice. Um, that's great. I mean, if you've got a 1S flea that's working, that's really cool. Yeah, it's just that like I know that a lot of the guys who build fleas in Adelaide want their fleas running on 2S, just to get that extra like drive and weapon power out of them. So that's why I'm trying to get the 1S batteries. Razor saying, so essentially almost like NHRL plus ants. Yeah, kind of. The only thing is our hobby is going to have to be run on the Friday, because we don't have time to run them over the Saturday, Sunday. So I don't know what we're doing about like live streaming that or anything, but there will be competition on the Friday to run the hobbies. Um, because like that's basically all we can actually do for those. All right, so here we go. This is our front armor panel. I'm gonna zoom back out a little bit because we don't need to be in quite this close, I'm realizing. So that's our front armor panel. This time round, I ran a 10 mil thick piece of HDPE as front armor. This worked really, really well. So I'm thinking that I'm going to I'm going to run 10 mil thick armor panels for basically everything and the robot going forwards. Like, I don't know about sides, but definitely front and back are both going to end up being 10 mil thick. You can also see here, there we go. Had to cut off these like brackets, these corner brackets. This was from like the local hardware store, and I had to cut them off so that they would fit around the Hardox frame that's underneath here. So, look, it works. And as long as the thing works, that's all it needs to do, really. US ants when? I think never is the answer to that question. Um, because and I've said this before somewhere. It might have been on Reddit at some point, but I feel like US ants and um, Australian slash UK ants, the 150-gram ants versus 1 pound ants, like they all do the same job. They are a low weight beginners kind of entry class and a class that you can mess around in a little bit more because you're not spending the like $100+ on components and stuff that you would for beetles and feathers and yada yada. Well, not all components are, and yes, but like you can spend lots and lots of money on a beetle if you so choose. Whereas I feel like ants, either American or Australian, there is kind of a hard cap on that based on the fact that there are not many components that fit in those weight classes just in general. So, yeah, I feel like because they are so similar in purpose, you don't need both. You need one of them. And look, I might be a little bit biased on my next point here, but I feel like the Australian slash UK ant system works better than the American ant system because 150-gram ants are small enough that you can print basically everything. There's like 2 or 3 sets of electronics that work, and that's it. That's all you can do, which greatly limits somebody's need to like research electronics and stuff. You do a little bit of digging, you find one of the two solutions, you buy it and you put it in the robot, and that's it. You're done, basically. Like, it's the easiest weight class to do a kit for. Um, and also an easy weight class to do a kit that is competitive for, because you can do a kit that's basically the same as what most people are using in their ants anyway. The only thing that puts people off is people who have bigger things worried that the class is too small and everything's going to be too fiddly. But once you've got your set of electronics down, things get a lot easier, and it isn't actually as fiddly as people think it is. Um, it's just, and look, I understand where they're coming from. Like, 150 grams is not a lot. It sounds like it should be a very, very difficult class to build for, but it's just not, at least in my opinion. And again, I am probably quite biased on this. I have fought the class for 8 years, 9 years, and I have built a lot, like a lot of American or Australian ants. So, you know, my experience running American style ants is a lot thinner. I have built four total, which is not a lot. Um, but they are like a little more challenging to build for, and it's a little harder to like choose componentry and stuff for as compared to the 150 gram stuff that I like. All right, that's enough of me ranting and raving about different weight plus systems. That's not what we're here for. Oh, yikes. These panels, like, I'm not sure how I can show this on screen, but this is a banana now. Oh, yeah, there you go. You can kind of see if I like tilt that way. You can see these panels have been warpy. Struggle to get your fingers in 150 gram ant. Yeah, I can kind of see that. That's where you design things so that everything gets soldered together outside and mashed in. If anything, of all the ant weight classes, Australia's is best because it doesn't have the size limit of the UK. Yes, yes, absolutely. The bloody 4-inch cube rule can go die. It's so bad. Thankfully, from what I'm hearing, more and more competitions in the UK are not running the 4-inch cube rule, which is gratifying because I have been against that rule since I first heard of its existence. Because why? Why would you do that? Why would you make it like it's just an unnecessary restriction? I feel like the weight restriction does most of that restriction for you, basically. So it's not needed. It's really not needed. And I feel like so I'm gonna very mini rant here for a second. Uh my thoughts on the 4-inch cube rule come down to kind of my thoughts on rules for combat in general. Because for me, there should be like there are two types of rules. One is a safety thing. So like a tip speed limit on a weapon is a safety rule. So you need to have stuff like that in place because you want the sport to be as safe as we can have it be while also being a combat sport so that we can keep doing this for as long as we can. Um, but then the other rule is a design rule. And design rules should exist to like plant designs in an interesting way. Um, and so like yeah, to put limitations on a way that is creatively interesting or allows for interesting creativity. Sure, there have been some robots that like, they put multi-bots inside the 4-inch cube to like prove that they could do it and stuff. there is a little bit of creativity in there, but my problem with it is that it overly compacts the creativity of people attempting their own builds, um, which just, again, in my opinion, makes it a bad rule for the sport because you're like overly artificially limiting what people are capable of. Yeah, so I'm like I said, I'm glad to have heard from some UK people that there are more and more competitions not running the 4-inch cube rule. I'm just making an absolute mess on this desk. There's like a pile of bolts here. Hang on. Look at that. It's so nice to be able to just like wander over there and grab the camera and move it. Um, yeah, so taking these blocks off. Now, also, this is a weird, like, fun factoid. This shaft that's in here right now, that's got a little like slot in it to articulate the arms. And then these aluminium blocks that I've got on the back here, these are, oh, and the bushing blocks and this aluminium here underneath. These are all from the original Strange Young Man, and they're about the only things that have survived off the original Strange Young Man. Basically, everything else out of the original Strange Young Man has been like slowly ship of Theseus out. Crowdfund a magnetic bolt tray for me. I do actually have a magnetic bolt tray. Peter from Repeat Robotics sent me one when he sent me some Repeat Robotics stuff last time. I just don't have it with me. Well, it's probably in the other room. I could probably go get it, but that's all right. I'm getting there. Now, once I've got this done, the thing I really wanted to get to today was these wheels because I said in the video I Loctited the hubs in place, and I did. I Loctited the hubs in place, which could have been a bad idea. Effectively, that's all I'm going to say about this. I don't know, and I won't know until we get to that point and we can try and pull those off. I've got a lighter here so we can put heat into the Loctite and try and get it to loosen, but that could be a problem. Oh, there it is. I just picked up two other Allen keys that I had out on the desk that weren't the ones that I was. Oh boy. Yeah. Welcome to the stuff stream. I hope you're enjoying the absolute scuffed vibe that we've got going on right now. We started scuffed and we are staying scuffed. And yeah, these so again, like I said, these aluminium blocks are from the original version of Strange Young Man. I actually built Strange Young Man with a friend of mine, who lives in a different state. And he helped me with the design, and then I flew to where he was, and we spent a couple of days in the workshop at his work building the first version of Strange Young Man. And I remember drilling every single one of these and then handing them off to him, who was doing all the tapping for the M8 holes that go through the middle. And it took a good part of a day just to do these blocks because there was a lot of drilling and tapping and then like rounding over corners and flattening off to the exact dimensions we needed them and stuff for the original design. So yeah, it was a lot of work to get those in, which is part of the reason they're still in the robot. Oh, that made a much louder sound hitting the floor than I was expecting it to. Okay, so I think the next thing is wheels, but that means taking the wheel pods off. Now, the easiest way to do that is going to be to shuffle bits, and then I think hang this guy off the edge, and then move the camera so you can see what I'm doing. Here we go. You can start to see a little bit more of the mess that is my workshop, but that's okay. You're always going to get to see messy bits of my workshop. Now, there are 4 bolts in underneath here that we take off. Now, tapping threads is so tedious. Oh, yes. As mentioned, I am not a fan of tapping threads. Um, and it's partly because it's very tedious. And also, it's very critical work. Like, you can get it wrong and just absolutely destroy a hole. And usually you're doing it after a part is basically complete, which means that, it's critical you get it correct. Otherwise, you're going to have to redo the entire part from scratch, which is really annoying. As is trying to undo bolts from the bottom. Here we go. All right. Okay. There we go. That's 2 of 4. And then we go to the other side and get blocked by the camera, the other camera. Too many cameras going on. Oh, that's a particularly nasty metal shard I do not want encroaching further into my finger. Okay, that's good. That almost was getting metal splinters in my hand, which that would not have been fun. We don't want that. I certainly don't want that. Come on. There we go. There's all of these got Loctited in, they are very difficult to get out. I mean, these only got blue Loctite, which is why I'm able to get them out without having to hit heat on all of them. But we did red Loctite the wheels in, so that is definitely going to be a heat problem when we get to that in a minute, because we are getting to that point very, very quickly here, actually, which is good. Well, I say quickly, I've been streaming over an hour and a half now. I also do want to get to replacing this base plate today, or at least getting down to being able to take the base plate off today, because the material I used for the base plate was just not the right material at all. Once had a boss that tapped threads by shoving the tap into a cordless drill and running it back and forth. What? No, no, that's that would break so many taps. All right, let's go back. I'm sorry, what? All right, hang on. Let's because there is a thing I do not understand how it's happened. Let's see. How do I get this on camera? Do this. Do that. See that? That is damage to that motor. Like that motor's been hit. That's crazy. It was buried under the robot. What? Oh, I see. Hang on. All right, let's see if I can get this here. So it may not be very easy to see. So there is a break here in this piece of plastic. Right on this corner, I'm seeing a little flash of red here. That could have been Fang. That could have been the crusher. I didn't think he'd managed to grab me underneath. But that's the thing. If he's managed to grab me, I'm just going to turn all this over. Yeah, if he's managed to grab me in here and poke through there, then he could have hit one of these motors, maybe. That's the only running theory I've got because yes, there is that little piece of plastic damage there. So that could be the way in. Um, but like this back plate is fine. Like there should be a hole in it somewhere if they were getting into the motor. Um, but there's not. So it kind of leads me to believe that it was from the underside. Because again, this plastic material I'm using here is terrible. I'm never ever using this crap again. It's crap. Um, yeah. All right. Well, that's annoying, and that is the one that's binding a little bit too. So that could mean that it's actually the motor that's binding, and I'll have to deal with that later on. Which is kind of more annoying because it's harder to get the motor out. Yeah, it's harder to get the motor out than it is to get the gearbox out because basically everything has to come off to get the motor out, whereas I can take it down to this, like to a smaller point to get the gearbox out, and it should be fine. So, wait, is that from landing on the mini bot? I don't think so. Um, because I would have seen it sooner if it was from landing on the mini bot, basically. Because landing on the mini bot was the first fight. And yeah, I pulled all the the drive system apart a couple of times post that fight to try and get the wheels working better. So I feel like I would have seen it, basically. Okay, so next thing to do is to take these wheels off, which means finding. Of course, I might put a jumper on in a second because it's getting kind of cool out here in the tent. So here we go. So the wheels are an annoying prospect because I've got a very thin IKEA like stamped Allen like stamped wrench that's got to go in there, and then I've got to hold that and take the nylock nut off from the outside. It's not a great design, this one. And the next set is going to be using a collar with tapped holes on the inside, so I don't have to use this little guy in the back ever again. Because this was kind of a pain in the butt when I was doing it. And the fact that I had to make modifications to this drive system a lot meant that I had to do this a lot, and it made me never want to have to do it again. Of course, I have to do it again now to get the system back. You think it's from the undercutting saw bot? It could be. It might be from the undercutting saw bot. Um, his saw did hit me in a lot of really bizarre places. And that would, I think, make the most sense if it was from him. Just because of the fact that like that wheel only seized up in the final fight that I had, like that final rumble. So it would make sense that the damage was from the sawbot, and then it only really like started impacting the ability to drive um in that final fight. Okay, cool. There we go. That's our polyurethane wheel. There's the camera. So that's not doing too badly. It has worn down a little bit, like the inside is higher than the outside. Sorry. You can see that the grooves here have worn down towards one side, which means that this outside edge has worn more than the inside edge, which is interesting. But they don't seem to be too bad on the whole. This is a 60 Shore polyurethane, and they've held up pretty well. I could definitely run those again, I think. Now, the big question is these. these hubs, which again, let's refocus the camera. It's off focusing on the wall at the moment. All right, that should do it. Let's zoom in. Why not? I've got. Keep going the wrong way on you. You're kind of getting a like zoom out, zoom in, crash zoom weirdness here. So we're gonna. This is the next thing to do is to try and take this off. Now these I drilled and tapped the bigger M6 into it. Oh, that doesn't have a grub screw on that side, but I did line some thread locker inside the thing. So I'm expecting that to be this not to be this blah 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 words. This grub screw to be hard to get out. And then after the grub screw is hard to get out, I'm expecting that it's going to be hard to get the thing off as well. All right, let's see if this grub screw is difficult to get out. This might be a heat the thing up and grab gloves and use that. Okay, grub screw moved a little bit. Oh, damn. Putting way too much force on this Allen key, I think, but what can you do? I might even also swap this to down. Hello, Tom. How are you? You've welcome to the scuffed stream. This has been probably the most scuffed stream I've ever produced. But we're getting there. We're getting things done. So the robot is very slowly coming apart. Um, and right now I am struggling with getting this grub screw back out. Hmm. It did start moving, but it has decided it shall move no more. I mean, look, this is what heat is for. I think it's maybe time to give up the ghost and go for some heat. All right. So let's this guy on the floor. Everything goes on the floor today. This guy comes over here. We swap to the other camera. We change. All right. Now, how do I want to go about this? Because I've got up on that camera. There we go. This is just a barbecue lighter. Definitely not the right thing to be using here, but it will do the job. And that's what we need to do. So, gloves. I have some leather gardening gloves. That'll help a little bit. But maybe I shouldn't. Yeah, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use panel locks to hold the thing after I've put some heat into it. So we're just going to stop here for a second as I um, apply a bunch of heat and soot to the underside of this. And then once that's done, I should be able to release that grub screw and hopefully also release the hub at the same time. But it's probably going to take a decent amount of heat to denature all the Loctite that is definitely everywhere in here. I'm not sure if you were expecting somebody to use a barbecue lighter on their combat robot today, but that's what you're getting. So, and I should not laugh because I'm blowing at the flame and changing where it's aiming. And to use a butane torch to get some TPU parts to fit together. That sounds more enjoyable than this. All right, let's grab this guy, turn him around. Oh, that grub screw is not having a fun time. But did we do the job? Oh yeah, that's much better. I'm actually getting it to move. Yes. Haha. Oh, I've dropped the Allen key on the floor. But that was definitely hot because I was getting heat up into the Allen key. I'm gonna need to grab that with pliers. Where's that going? All right, now the next part of this equation is trying to get this thing off. Robots are always better with fire. I wish we could use fire here in Australia, but it's not a thing. All right, which tools am I going to abuse today? This one, I think. This one or that one. All right, had to get myself a little more prepared. I've got some head screwdrivers. I'm going to push in here and try and use to lever the thing apart. It could need a lot more heat than I've given it. I think it does need a lot more heat. You can see I've got the only grub screw that was holding the thing together out, and yet putting force on that, it doesn't move. So back to plan A, back to heat. We're gonna heat this boy up again. Now let's, if I move it that way. All right, hang on. This may be impossible. Yeah, I may have done a thing at the event that is impossible to undo uh, in my own home. We'll see. Soldering iron robot is the closest we can get. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, most of the Australian events run wooden floors, which means that you can't run a flamethrower. But also, flamethrowers are kind of illegal in Australia, so there's like a whole legality question about, um, if you were running a flamethrower, would you be able to be arrested for running your flamethrower? So it's best avoided, basically. So, all right, just gonna again, if random, would you be allowed to use glow plugs? I think so. Nobody's tried, as far as I know. That would be an interesting thing to try. Do the hot wings style glow plugs? That would be interesting. It also reminded me I need to get a cheetah bar for my Allen wrenches. Yeah, look, it comes in handy. That's for sure. All right, that should certainly be enough, I think. Let's see if that has done the job. Okay, well, that's not worked. So let's try. I want to try. Come on. Just want to turn this around and push from the other side because I think it's this back side that's where all of the Loctite is. I'm also just cognizant of the fact that if this does move, it's probably going to go quite quickly. And I was standing in the way of it, which would have meant getting a very hot piece of metal coming flying below the waist, which does not sound like a good plan. I've moved myself out of the way now. Okay, well, this is not going well. Um, okay. Um, Tom asking, did I use the wrong color Loctite? The answer is yes, Tom. I was having trouble getting these to stay gripped to the shaft. Um, and so what I did was I put a line of red Loctite on the back of the D shaft, not on the D shaft itself, on the other side, and then put them on and let that cure. And that's what we're dealing with right now, is a line of red Loctites. Yeah, not great. Swordfish says angle grinder time. It might be. We are not going to be angle grindering on stream though. If I have to angle grinder them, then I will do that in my own time. I wanted to try and be able to do this without angle grindering them. I was hoping that just like putting a bloody lighter on the thing was going to get me everywhere I needed to be, but apparently it has not. So, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to like apply a bit more heat in all four directions and hope that I can get this to work. You know, there might be something else I can do here. I'm gonna try this, and then looks like a good job for two lighters. You know, you're not wrong. Hang on a second. Where did I put the other ones? I've got more lighters around here somewhere. There they are. It's the weird thing about doing a stream with a wireless mic is that I can just walk away and you can still hear me. Um, so here we go. To apply as much heat as we can. I mean, I do also have a heat gun that I could be using, but I feel like the lighters is a little bit more directional and a little bit more applied flame. Like I am only heating the shaft and the shaft collar right now. I'm not really heating all the aluminium, which I don't really want to, because I heat that a little bit and it's going to spread that heat all the way down, and I need to be able to grab it at some point. Ah, Ben's just sat down on live stream. Oh, I hope not. Well, we'll see. That would be that'd be a way to do it. Hey Ben, what did you do today? Well, I live streamed burning my shed to the ground after having put so much effort into it to make it a usable workspace. I've just like collapsed it. All right. Probably that's enough. Oh my god, yes! It moved! Yes! Haha! Yes! Oh, okay. We got there. We got there in the end. Oh, wow. All right. That was a thing that I've done now in my life. Oh, we did a chat. We got there. We absolutely got there. Did it take two barbecue lighters? Yes. Did we get the shaft collar off? Absolutely. Um they now have a nice roasting of soot and a good burning smell to them. But then if we turn the shaft around, oh, I did actually put the Loctite apparently directly on the D shaft. You can kind of see a bit of schmutz. Yeah. It's oh, Tom says I was cutting a half inch polycarbonate on my deck yesterday. Sounds like a perfect use for a deck. That sounds exactly like what you should be doing, Tom. Oh, so I'm gonna get rid of this battery box. It's on the back here. Hang on, let's move the camera again. Huzzah! Adrenaline, which is, I guess, probably more of an Australian reference that I should be making. All right, let's get rid of this battery box because we do not need it. Um, we'll just have to be careful. Okay, I did get a little bit of heat up into the aluminium, so oh man, I was not expecting to have to dual wield bloody barbecue lights. Oh man. Oh well, the things we do for combat robots, eh? I believe, is it that or is it smaller? Oh, it's way smaller than that. Oh, Big Frank's top plate. Nice. When is Big Frank fighting? Is that preparation for June and HRL? That screwdriver's not going to be a good enough one. Let's get other screwdriver. And again, I would just like keep talking while I'm completely out of camera shot, and it's still a thing that you can just hear while I'm just not in the room, basically. Yeah, June and NHRL, nice. I I really want to get back to NHRL at some point. It's just yeah, maybe not right now. Is kind of the problem. It's kind of a little feels a little dicey to be traveling to America right about now. So I will get back to NHRL at some point, but it might not be in the next 4 years. We'll see. We'll see how we go. Yeah. Like bend all the way over to be able to see what I'm even doing, which then you can't see what I'm doing, which is unscrewing the two bolts, keep this battery box on, adding to my giant messy bolt pile that's not in a mag box. All right, and then we do this whole song and dance one more time. Well, actually, we're going to do this whole song and dance a couple more times. Fair, and a bunch of us are trying to leave. Yes, yeah, no, I know a couple of people who are trying to leave fairly actively, which I do not blame them in any way, shape, or form. That sounds like a smart idea. Um, nope, not that one. Too many tools on this bench right now. NHRO can start an Aussie spin-off. Hey, look, I mean, if NHRO wants to pay me to run an Aussie spin-off, I will absolutely do that. I fully agree that there should be an Aussie NHRO. 100%. We need that. That'd be so good. Um, you know, come to a country with less crazy politics. I'm not going to say our politics is not like weird, but it's a little bit less crazy. The wheel coming off is not too bad. I mean, yeah, like I said, I want to do threaded couplers next time just because I think that's going to make life a lot easier. This little tool meant that I could actually, at least do this job, but it would be nice to not need it, basically. Especially if I've only got one of them. So one of the things I was very cognizant of when I was going over to fight this robot was that if I'd lost this little spanner, which is very thin and very small and very easy to lose, if I had lost it at any point, I would not have been able to get the wheels of my robot, which is not a good way to do things. Yeah, okay, we are still getting there. Um, started talking, and so I stopped undoing the bolt and started doing the bolt up because, of course, that would happen. There we go. That's better. Into the pile of bolts with thee. On the whole, I'm pretty happy with how I did with bolt sizing for things. There wasn't a lot of excess bolt in this robot. Which is, again, as I mentioned kind of earlier in the stream, something you should watch out for in the higher weight classes, because it can add up very quickly. Do I own a drill with socket bits? I mean, I'm literally using a socket bit in a screwdriver right now. You're right, I should have been doing it that way. That would have made a lot more sense than what I just did. We have 2 wheels to go, so we'll do those with the socket bit. Well, I mean, I've got a drill, but I've also got, where's the camera? This thing, which is a like electric screwdriver. We absolutely could have just done that. I do way too many things by hand that do not need to be done by hand. Especially now. Like I own a lot more tools than I ever used to. So come on, you can come out of there. Where's See, the wheel isn't too bad. The wheel is okay. Oh yeah, the saw blade did get, so the undercutter did come in and actually get a wheel, but again, this is 60 short polyurethane. It's pretty resilient to this type of thing, so that was okay. We'll put that down. And before I go all pyro mode on this particular one, I'm just going to grab a drink. Think of the content. Yes, yes, that great satisfying content of somebody standing there for hours on end turning a screwdriver. Oh boy, that's yeah, riveting, I'm sure. Well, actually no, it's not. It's screwing, but slightly different process. Now, this guy has got 2 grub screws in it. Use a drill for all screw assembly because you can't over tighten and you can't uh yeah, you can't over tighten something loosening, which is fair. Yeah. Currently using a piece of threaded rod to sandwich the top and bottom plates of Frank through the chassis. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. I mean, having connection between your top and bottom plates, like a solid connection between your top and bottom plates, helps a ton with robot stability. All right, let's see if I've got the right grub screw. Oh, sorry, the right Allen key for this grub screw. Hopefully, I do. Yeah, that's the one there. Okay, now this guy shouldn't have too much Loctite on it. I say, but it may just have like all of the Loctite on it. And we won't know really until I try and take this thing off. Okay. That's starting to. Tom saying, can't wait to see Big Frank get roofed in the big cage. That will be a sight. That will definitely be a sight. Yeah, okay. Drats. I have rounded out the bottom of that Allen key. That is not good. So we're going to need to put some flame on this. Try and get it heated up, and use the back of that Allen key to get it to unbolt. So bear with me here while we reapply heat. Yeah, I should look into getting some hex bits. I'm not sure if I've got hex bits for my drills. I might have somewhere because I've got a couple of like the screwdriver sets that come with just like all of the bits under the sun, but they may not have the right hex bits we need. Because there's one way to find out. Just literally walk into the next room and see if one of the sets that I actually know where it is has hex bits in it. Although I don't think it's going to have hex bits small enough to do this particular screw that I'm trying to get out right now. Surely that's enough heat. Give it 30 more seconds just to be on the safe side. All right. Moment of truth, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, I'm going to have to do this in a way that you cannot see what I'm doing. Okay, yes, we got it. Yeah, yeah. So look, it turns out when you use red Loctite, you need to put heat on them. That's the way that goes. Okay. So let's see. So that guy, it is that guy. Let me see if I can find a bit that will do the unscrewing of the other one. Uh, Wait, did I bring the... Hmm, stand here and make bloody Minecraft villager noises. I did have this set. Let's see if we go soup. Hello, Rattlesnake saying playing Robot Rumble 2 while watching. Nice. Yeah. Doubling up on your robot content. I wonder if you can triple up on your robot content somehow. What else could you be doing to be adding to your roboting content? Um, those feel a little loose. That's way too big. And of course, these are not marked with their actual size, which is not helpful. I think it's that one though. Now, I'm not gonna start it with that. I'm gonna heat the thing, get it started with the other one, like with the manual one. Actually, yeah, I probably don't need to, because this is only a short Allen key. Oh, gob screw. Bleh. Look, if somebody could manage to be playing Robot Rumble 2, be doing CAD and also watching the stream, I would be very impressed. That would be a lot to be doing all at once. That would be a very impressive amount to be doing all at once. Um, yeah. All right. This guy needs some heat as well. So we're going back to our trusty barbecue lighter. So let's go back to this camera, the one that's not just going to sit here and keep deciding to refocus. Old seasons of Robot Wars on the other screen. Yeah, look, I mean, if you could do that, I can't be watching more than one thing at once is the thing. That's a lot. Actually working on a robot during a stream, yeah. All right. Well, look, we're gonna keep going with our old lighter trick here. We'll see if we can get this grub screw out. Once we've done that, we can again use the double lighter trick to get these off. So if you're only just joining us, we've been having a lot of fun trying to get Loctite to release after somebody, don't know who, applied Loctite directly to the shaft of the gearboxes here before putting the shaft collars on. And it's been quite a pain to get rid of. So we're doing things you probably shouldn't do in a garage, but that's fine. All right, that should be enough heat for the grub screw. I could stop dropping all my tools on the ground, get back into it. All right, now take that grub screw out without burning my fingers off. Ah, oh my God, is it that early in America? Yeah, I did think it might end up being a weird time for everybody not in Australia, but I mentioned it earlier on in the stream. Uh, I'm currently out in my sheds. I am doing this now because in probably half an hour, I'm going to be swarmed with bugs in here. And so basically, the end of the stream tonight is going to be the first time I feel a mosquito bite happen. We're gonna stop. We're gonna stop the stream down there and we're going to call it a day. But so far, we're at 10 past 5, which is further, 20 past 5, which is further past 5 than I thought I was going to get without being eaten alive by bugs. But I think it's because the sun's not quite down yet out there. So once the sun goes down, we're probably going to be out of luck. But we'll keep going until I get a bug bite, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, 3:45 a.m. is very, very early in the morning to be working on robots and watching streams. To be crowdfunding a screen door for Ben. Look, I mean, I need to seal the shed a little bit better because from where I'm standing right now, I've got a door there and I've got two big double doors here, and none of them have like stripping around the edges, so bugs can just like fly over or around the sides, like in through the little gaps of the doors. But that is something I want to work on. I want to get some yeah, some like rubber matting and stuff and fix all of that. Uh, get myself some rain or some mortine. Yeah. Do you know Jules and Mars? I do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Mars and Jules were actually at the event that I fought Strange Young Man. I fought Picasso, which is Jules's pick robot, and Saw Loser, which was Miles's undercutter slash overcutter saw. Um, and hello, Sonodrome. That's how I'm going to say that. I don't think I'm correct, but apologies. And it's 8:48 a.m. in the UK. Okay, sure. All right. So, I mean, I started 2 hours ago, which means what was that, like 7 a.m. in the UK? That was probably a little early. All right. I need to focus and do the thing. Uh, Again, if you are only just watching us only just joining us, we are currently doing things you probably shouldn't do. And by that, I mean, let's zoom in a little bit more. We are trying to get Loctite off of the shaft collar using two lighters. So, off we go. And this is literally just a process of running heat here, there, and everywhere, and just holding this until everything gets nice and warm, and the Loctite denatures, and one of my lighters is starting to fade because it's one of my old ones, and I've been using it for a while to like do heat shrinking and things. But that's okay. It will hold enough heat, hopefully, where I need it to hold heat, that we should be okay. Yeah, that bottom lighter is really not having a fun time. See how we go. Hopefully it brings enough heat into the equation that we can still do the thing and get the shaft collar off here in a second. Certainly doesn't look anywhere near as impressive when one of my barbecue lighters is going out. I might run through my supply of barbecue lighters trying to get 4 shaft collars off after having made a very silly decision that, well, look, it wasn't a silly decision, and I don't really regret it because it got the robot working, it got everything running enough, um, to make it through the rest of the fights I had. So I don't really begrudge it that at all. But it does mean that this whole process is a bit of a pain. I guess missed the start of the stream because you're up like printing robot parts. Like that's fair. That's absolutely fair. I can't say much. I'm up late all the time, and sometimes it's not even for printing robot parts. Sometimes it's just, you know, because I can, basically. And I think we might need more heat. So I didn't hear the crack I heard last time. Because I heard the Loctite break last time, and I didn't hear it this time. So I think we just need to keep going. Oh, hang on. Something's happening. Did something happen, or am I imagining it? Yeah, no, I imagined it. All right. Now, which one of these is a good one? I need to get another one. That's the good one. Now they're both good ones? Okay. More heat. Ah, should start a cooking show. Gotta get shaft collars off combat robot. Apply high heat for 10 minutes. Okay. The lighter in my right hand is the one that's not doing particularly well right now. So I should get rid of that one in a second. Because we've got 2 more of these to do. Roasting robots. Start a podcast. Roasting robots. No, I don't think I need to start a podcast. I've already got the YouTube channel. I don't really need more things to be doing. All right, let's see if we can do that. Yes! Haha! Okay, we got it this time. We got it now. Look at that! Second one. So much more easier. Well, so much easier. There. English. Continuing the premise today of words being very, very hard. Um, okay. Yeah, we're getting a nice nice char broil on oh, our shaft collars. Oh, uh, Why don't you use TPU armor on your robots? I use it up to beta weight though. I don't really use TPU for armor past beta weight, just because if I'm gonna go past beta weight, I'll use HDPE instead. Because I'll probably be milling HDPE for something bigger than a beetle anyway. So I might as well use that as armor. Yes, we did it. We got everything apart again, which is good. Things are moving. Um, yeah, there we go. All right, I'm gonna swap cameras again, I think. Let's go to the top camera that was having a conniption earlier, but we'll see how it's decided it doesn't know where focus is. Hello, here, this is focus right here. Mm. Problem is, it's like, so that camera up there, it's just a regular webcam. It's supposed to be pointed at a face. Like if I pointed it at my face, it would focus fine because it had a face to focus on. But when it's pointed at a desk, it doesn't quite know what's going on. So we now need, not to touch the very charbroiled hubs, which have a nice blackened crust on them. Yeah, because we need to get the robot back up here. I think we're getting pretty close to the end of today's stream, I think. Because there's not too much new to do for the rest of this little bit now. Uh, you like the live streams of working robots? I'm glad. I should do more of it. I mean, I said in a community post at one point that I've got a ton of time, like a ton of footage of me just like quietly working on robots because, when I'm not streaming it, I'm filming it usually, which means standing there quietly or sitting there quietly and just, using screwdrivers and things. Um, you stream your own robots, but it would be entirely cleaning the garage. Yeah, yeah, fair enough. I skipped over yeah, streaming cleaning the garage and just cleaned it to get to the point that I could do this stream. So, all right. So what have we got left? We have our wheel sections at the back. We've got our uprights, and we've got our weapon motor in down the bottom here, which might be worth pulling that out and having a look at it. I mean, these drive pods are okay, and I now know I have this technique down. We double heat the hubs to get the hubs out, which I'm glad we got that because I was a little worried that that wasn't going to work. But we got there, so that's good. That's a thing. Recently found 72D TPU on Amazon in the UK for £20 a kilo. Hmm, super tough and easy to print. Interesting. That could be very useful for an outlet. Um, I do need to work on my ant weights because I have been printing ant weights in ABS for a really, really long time, and I think it's starting to get to the point that it has to be TPU, which I'm a little bit sad about, just because TPU is a higher density material than ABS, so you can get less robot out of your TPU than you can get out of your ABS. But if ABS is no longer strong enough to survive combat, then you can't be running ABS. That's basically the long and the short of the story. So I might have to end up, yeah, going over to the TPU. So 72D TPU sounds interesting. Um, I mean, I don't buy a lot of my filament offline at this point in time, mostly just because there's a local filament supplier here in Adelaide who he sells really good stuff. He keeps a lot of stock on hand all the time, and he's a really nice bloke. So I try and support him where I can. Like I buy as much of my filament from him as I can, which basically means the last like I don't know, 3 years or something, 2 years. I've been buying basically exclusively from him. But yeah, if there's some other like saw hardness TPUs that he doesn't have, I might have to look some of those up and see, um, yeah, if if what they're like and where I can get them from, basically. Hmm. Um, all right, actually, yeah, we're just gonna take the rest of the stuff off because I want to get back down to the undercover down here. Um, 95A is the best stuff for most applications. 72D cracks under high loads. Interesting. Yeah, well, cracking is what I want to avoid. Like that's the problem I'm seeing with ABS at the moment is high impact shocks still can crack ABS, especially if the layers don't bond properly, which I'm finding my bamboo does not bond ABS layers as well as my old printer does. So I'm gonna need to mess with like layer times and heat and stuff to work out what's going to work. Um, Tom saying I use mostly 98A TPU, big Frank chassis, just over 2 rolls. Damn, that's big boy. That's a lot of TPU, and I know that was a whole other robot. But still, damn. All right, let's get this off here. So actually, what I'm going to do, what did I put? There's the other drive pod. That drive pod, so go back on there as a counterbalance. I said as a counterbalance, said as a counterbalance, I'm going to switch back over to this other camera, which I can do from here. Oh, that's far too close. All right. Gotta make my own zoom sound effects as well today. Hope you've been enjoying the Ben SFX package that we've had on screen. I do not know why. It is just how we're doing it. Also, the big advantage of the TPU is compliance, which will transfer a lot of energy into bending the material. Yeah, oh for sure. Look, I mean, here's the thing. I made a video on TPU printing chassis for ant weights in like 2018, 2019. I then just didn't follow my own advice, basically. And I stopped. Well, I think partly because printing TPU can be such a pain in the ass that I just um, went back to printing ABS because it was easier. Well, in some ways easier anyway. Um, 72D deforms under high loads. You can get it to break if you beat the snot out of it with a hammer. Not too scientific, but it looks interesting. Yeah, I mean, the problem with anything that's going to break under high loads is that, like, a spinner impact is basically the highest load you can possibly put on something. Um, so if it's going to shatter under high loads, it's probably going to shatter on spinner impact, which means its usefulness for combat robots kind of diminishes a bit. I keep dropping things today. All right, I said, in the bulk pile. Thank you. Is this the one I want? I think I picked up the wrong Allen key. I have picked up the wrong Allen key. This is why you should put your tools away after you've used them, so you don't keep picking up the wrong Allen key all the time. All right, there we go. Of course, I'm doing such a poor job of having the camera where you can actually, see the thing that I'm doing. I'm taking the bolts out from underneath this set of drive motors so that I can take these drive motors off. Again, I don't think I'm going to take I'm not going to do the double lighter trick again. I've got that trick down. I've done it on camera. I know how it works. Is there only one of those in there? I think there was two on one side and only one on the other. Unless I'm going crazy, and I took all four of them out on camera, and you just saw me do it, and then I said there was only three of them. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, another drive pod. There's that on camera. There's that on camera. Yeah, this guy's just got a little like flap of this material to act as a stop to stop the like electronics from getting into the drive system at the back here. Um, no surprise damage on these motors, which is good. We like to see that because so they'll be able to run again. It's going to be interesting to work out if it's the gearbox on that other drive system or if it's the motor that's caused that problem on the other one. I don't know. Maybe we should look at that before we finish stream. Because I didn't really like exactly plan out when I was going to finish stream, and so far I haven't been bitten by any bugs, so we're going all right. I got the Bamboo Lab P1S to print ABS with less warping and better layer bonding by covering the top of the printer with a towel and preheating it for 30 minutes. Okay, interesting. Interesting. I might have to look into preheating the chamber. I don't do that at this point. Um, I've just been kind of uh, sending it. But preheating the chamber doesn't sound like a bad idea, especially as I'm in Australia and we're coming into winter now. Um, so heat is going to be a big problem. Okay, I'm taking off. Hang on, let's go back to this guy so you can actually kind of sort of see what I'm doing. I'm taking this motor off. I mean, I say kind of sort of see what I'm doing. I do mean kind of sort of. Oh, let's see if we can do this. Oh, no, that's an Allen key for some reason. Also printing from a filament dryer. See, I do not have a filament dryer. I definitely should, but I do not. Um, so that's definitely something for me to look into. Is that gonna work? Yeah, all right, cool. Look, I'm gonna stop torturing you now, and I'll actually, use the tools that I have available to make this go a lot quicker, hopefully. You can't actually. Come here. There we go. Nice. That one better. Now we do the same, but on the other side, like so. Eating mode. Look at that. Who would have guessed when you use the tools that you actually have on hand to make life easier, life gets easier. What a wild prospect. Okay, that's our weapon motor assembly. Again, this is only a 13-to-1 gearbox in here. But it does the job, or did the job, to throw the hammer around with a 3-to-1 reduction out to the weapon arm. So I think, yeah, if this has got a 4-to-1 gearing set on it, it would throw a hammer, no worries. And hopefully that would survive combat pretty well. Now, our last thing to do is going to be to take these off. I'm going to need the other thing. It's actually packed down a little bit. Oh, all right. How are we doing time-wise? We've been streaming for 2 hours and 35 minutes, which is why my voice is getting bad. And I've drunk all my water, so I can't even, like, do anything about that, really. Yes, so we went through this a little earlier in the stream. But the planned changes for Strange Young Man's weapon system is this. This is a 188 to 1 gearbox, so basically 200 to 1. I'm going to slap that in here with a 4 to 1 between it and the output, which means that the torque required on the motor is a whole lot less than it was before. So hopefully all of that goes well. If that breaks this gearbox, which I'm hopeful it won't because of the 4 to 1 reduction, if it breaks this gearbox, then we'll put back in the handle mechanism and put the 4 to 1 reduction here to swing the hammer instead. So the the 200 to 1 with the 4 to 1 reduction is for the lifter. Like this is going to do the lifting. This is going to be for if we need the hammer with the 4 to 1. But again, it will be like metal printed gears, basically. A metal printed main gear and a metal printed small gear with a 4 to 1 between them to hopefully allow the weapon system to actually work this time. Look, who knows? We'll see. But that's the plan. And hopefully it works. Because, my God, it has been so long trying to get this bloody robot working. But we'll get there. We will get there. I will. Strange Young Man will be a leader again. I'm not going to say I will die trying, but I'll try. I'll make it happen. Okay. Now I did have somewhere around the place. Is it a 17 mil spanner? It is a 17 mil spanner. Aha! I knew I had this thing around for a reason. Oh, this is so nice. The original bolts on Strange Young Man were way longer than these, and way longer than they needed to be, which meant that I would spend way more time than that taking out each of these bolts. And when there's four of them, and you need to take them off to get the weapon system out, it's a real pain. Let's go back to this guy. Soup. Mm. Where did that go? There it is. Ah. I've dropped so many things on the floor today. Like, I've dropped enough things on the floor today that somebody could make a video just counting or like just clipping all the times I've dropped things on the floor today. Oh, come on. Stay on. Thank you. There we go. Much better. We are getting there. But yes, so like I said, I do want Strange Young Man to go back to being a lifter. Like, he was originally designed to be a lifter. He's always supposed to have been a lifter. But I keep making him into a hammer because the hammer requires a ton less torque and, it just, like, gets me in the arena. But I really don't want to keep doing that. Like, I want Strange Young Man to go back to being a lifter. Um, And I did say earlier that if I can get Strange Young Man back to being a lifter, then the plan is to do Strange Young Man as a lifter, and then I'm going to make him a brother. I'm going to make Wacky Young Man, which is a hammer, like a round the body hammer. So Wacky Young Man will look fairly similar to Strange Young Man, with a different head, a different color scheme, but it will be designed to use the hammer rather than designed to be a lifter, basically. because I think that's going to be fun. And also because I really like the name Wacky Young Man. That's just, it's silly and I like it. We're almost done here. As long as I do these the right way around. Oh, look at that. I could have done this the whole time. More things on the ground. That's one tally mark for the Ben drops something. All right, there we go. Now, if we go back here, we go like this, and like that, and then we can take the entire hammer mechanism or the draft mechanism off. We'll leave these on here though. But that's our weapon shaft done, and that's our very, very dead belt that's just gone. Wop, wop, wop. That one's not a drop. I threw that one on purpose. All right. So axle mounts out of the way. Team panic, but it's every time Ben drops something. Oh, that's what this stream has felt like. Um, will we see Strange Young Men have a gate? Yes. I am doing this work now so that I can take the robot to Havoc 8. Um, yeah, I'm like, there'll be a video this month or early next month on fixing the drive issue that I had and like fixing having to Loctite the drive together. I want to fix that problem first. And then I'll do a video on the weapon system, and hopefully this time, biggest bloody hopefully, we get um the lifter actually working. But Strange Young Man will be at Havoc 8. He will either be there as lifting Strange Young Man or he will be there as the hammer version. I've got a bunch of like add-ons and stuff for the hammer arm that I could run at Havoc 8 if I wanted to. But I really, really, really want to run Strange Young Man as a lifter at Havoc 8. That would be so nice. But we'll see how we go. Now, the last thing to do is underneath here, we've got 4 bits of duct tape remaining that hold on these little pieces of cutting board plastic, which is not HDPE. I thought it was HDPE, and it's really, really not HDPE. Given the way it cracked and crumbled and stuff, it's like LDPE or something, or like a polypropylene based something. I don't know exactly, but it was garbage. Absolute garbage. So the next build of this robot, I will put on a proper like 3 mil or 2 mil thick HDPE sheet, basically, um, to be the base plate because it will survive a whole lot better than this stuff did, which was not worth the weight, the very low amount of weight it added to the robot, but it really wasn't worth it because it just cracked and crumbled and warped and yeah, meant that nothing really fit properly after the fights happened and yeah. I'm glad people like Strange Young Man. I really like Strange Young Man too. He's a lot of fun to design and build and work on, except for when he's being a massive, massive pain and his lifter is not working for the billionth time. Yeah, there we go. That's our really thin base plate out of the robot, and you can see just how cracked and warped and bad this stuff is. All right, that in the bin, out of here, no more. I think the final thing we're going to do. So we're going to go back in here, take this guy off the bench. Oh, you can see how much hit, oh, see how much like hit gunk is on the table just from taking this robot apart. Ah, now what I wanted to do was our motor that has the ding in it. Actually, where's my little brush? I want to clean this up so I don't get any more gunk in this motor if I've got gunk in it. Oh god. This is the content you came for to a combat robot channel for, right? Sweeping. We do need to clean this up so we don't get any more stuff in that motor because I really do want to hopefully save that motor. I'm hoping that it's the gearbox that's gone and not the motor because that will make life easier. Yeah, look, I should have known. A little while ago I swore off cutting boards because I'd had bad luck getting like really brittle material as well. And I was like, surely this stuff's all right. Like it's gonna be like it's a different thing entirely, basically. Um, and also it was really like it's really thin, like it's a millimeter thin. So I was like, I need something that size, and I can just buy this from my local grocery store. Absolutely, I'm gonna try it. Now that I've tried it, I'm never doing it again. So the last thing we're doing is we are taking this faceplate off, which involves this guy, and then the screws on this faceplate here. And once we've done that, we should be able to get to the gearbox. Now, that's going to be way too big. It's going to be that one. No. Nope. No, it's going to be this little one that I like almost rounded out earlier. No, it's not. Okay. It's the only problem with bolts that use hex inputs is that there's so many different sizes of the things. Oh, come on, go in there. Yep, that's it. Now, these went on with blue Loctite, so these shouldn't need anything fancy to come out. Let's get this camera a little bit better sorted so you can actually see what I'm doing. That'd be good, wouldn't it? You know, to be able to see the things that you're here to see me do. I've thrown too many things on the floor. I'm stepping over robot bits to get to the back of the camera and adjust it. Unfortunately, I would do this with the drill, but I definitely don't have bits this size, like the Allen key bits this small. Yeah, yeah, Allen keys get real bad when you mix sizes. I have accidentally done that in the past. Thankfully, this particular build of Strange Young Man, I went through the trouble of buying basically a whole new set of screws from one place, which meant that everything came metric, and all the Allen keys were metric. All the Allen screws were metric. So that worked out well. All right, I need to work out how like speedrunners do um the death counter on their stream statistic, like on the stream screen, and I need to do that for me, for my dropping things on the floor counter for the stream. Yeah, I think I will invest in a bit set. It does seem like it would make my life a lot easier. Oh, of course, you know, I can't see what the hell I'm doing. Alright, there we are. Okay. Yeah, I also like to design robots to have as few fasteners as possible, but you know, when you've got like gearboxes like this that have a set face size screw in them, there's nothing you can really do about that. Um, okay, so we're going to get these four screws out. Once those four screws are out, we'll be able to run the motor and the gearbox independently, and we'll be able to work out which is the one causing us problems right now. Is it this guy? Oh, it is that guy. Okay. Control. We're back on the same Allen key. Trying to do this so that one camera can see and the other camera doesn't look massively suspect is harder than I thought it was going to be. Hmm. It is sometimes weird to me how different bolts grab differently with Loctite. Like that first bolt was a lot easier to undo than this one, and yet both of them had the same amount of Loctite on them. So I don't know how that is possible, why that does that. I mean, both of them got blue Loctite, so it shouldn't have needed heat to come undone or anything. Okay, maybe that first one just didn't get as much Loctite as these other ones because all the rest of these are more difficult than that first one was. So maybe that's what that was, is I just didn't actually put as much Loctite on that one as I thought I did. Loctite is good stuff, and it's also just the worst. Necessary evil, much like grub screws. I hate grub screws, but can't live without them. Certainly can't build bots without them. Alright, we're almost here. So the good thing about this is that it is a single stage planetary, which means that when we pull this apart, we should be able to see whatever is causing the hitch here. Like if it's in the gearbox, it should be visible. All right, give me a second. I'm going to need to have a look at this and then try and get this on camera. Uh-oh. Let me move cameras around. Let's do that. And do ooh, nice little zoom out. A corresponding zoom out effect. But the reason I said uh-oh is that this is not going to focus on this, but this is moving so freely now that the gearbox is not attached to. Come on, let me focus on this thing. Let's see if I can see this. Yeah. Now that the gearbox is not attached to the motor, that's moving so freely, which makes me think that it is the motor and not the wait, come on, calm down. There we go. Yeah. Makes me think this is there's a problem with the motor and not with the gearbox. Or at least not with that part of the gearbox. Yeah, this is hitchy. That's what it is. Yeah, I can roll that one way totally fine, and then if I roll it back the other way, I get a hit. That kind of feels to me a little bit like there's something magnetic caught between two magnets in there somewhere. Um, which like as I move it one way and then move it back, it's like flicking back and forth between being caught inside two different magnets, and that's what's causing it to jam. So I think that is that problem. I think that's what that is that it's the motor, and it's probably from where it got hit on the back here, which is a real pain in the butt. Next stream, can we get a floor cam to see all the stuff that I dropped? Oh no. Oh, I mean, maybe. I did not expect to drop anywhere near as much stuff as I have dropped today. So look, maybe it is a good idea to do that. Ah, look, anyway, we are approaching the 3 hour mark here on this stream. This desk is an absolute disaster zone. Hang on, let me show you what I'm talking about here. It's can we get this off the tripod? Yeah, let's take it off the tripod. We're going freehand mode. So yeah, here we go. That's you. Hello. And then yeah, the desk is a mess, and the floor is a mess. Like there's just stuff everywhere around here. Yeah, I think that's a good place for us to end this stream. I'm quite happy. I haven't been bitten by any bugs tonight. I was very yeah, worried about that. I thought it was going to happen. I honestly thought 5 o'clock was going to go roll around. It was going to go dark outside, and I was going to get mobbed by mosquitoes. So maybe burning Loctite is a mosquito repellent. Maybe it's the only thing I can think of that yeah might have actually done that. Let's go to this guy for a moment. Oh yeah, that's the lighting setup in here is not great. I'm going to have to sort that out. I'm going to have to like put some lights up or something around the place. Otherwise, I get a bit of a like weird halo effect. Yeah, yeah. There you go. I think that's going to be it. I think we're calling it a stream here and now. We've done a good amount of what I wanted to do. We found where that issue is in that drive gearbox. We worked out that yes, you can burn the absolute hell out of Loctite and get it back off. Yeah, we've got everything back down. So all good. Thank you very much to everybody for being here and watching the stream. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your weekends. Bye.